Aloha. Welcome to the Mr.G podcast. I am Gregory Brandt, aka Mr. G. It is Sunday, January 14th, 2024. It's about 8:15 a.m. It's approximately 61 degrees in Hawaii. That's basically unheard of, at least in Honolulu. In the 11 years I've lived in Hawaii, it's gotten into the 50s less than five times. So it was an interesting morning. I'm very busy in the morning. I wake up very early at 3 a.m. and start my day feeding homeless cats. And then I take a short break and go back out and do it again. And today, like I said, it was chillier than it has been for a while. This isn't my real hair right here, but sometimes when I get nervous, I chew on it. Seriously, I'm happy to do this podcast. I'm happy to be here, and I'm glad that you're listening to me. This is my coffee with whipped cream on top. I noticed in the last podcast I had whipped cream on my mustache, so I've gotten a paper towel to fix that problem today. Ah, with that being said, we're gonna talk about a few things in the news, in the world news today, and we're not going to talk about sports unless I feel like it. Today's 100 days of the Israel versus Hamas conflict. Israel versus Palestine, Israel versus Hamas. It's been 100 days since that happened. And it doesn't look like it's getting better anytime soon. It doesn't look like there's going to be a ceasefire. The protest around the world, it reminds me a lot of the Arab Spring in 2011 when all these countries like Libya were overturned and there were civil civil unrest in each of these countries. The way people are able to the way people are able to connect with social media in these countries, they're able to gather in large groups, and you see that with the Palestinian protest. So I see something more of that in the future in 2024. Everybody says we're on the brink of World War III. I don't know when there's not going to be a starting pistol for World War III. I don't think. Maybe there will be a smoking gun, but it seems like the United States is already, engaged in forces in Libya. And when you look at Libya, Gaddafi, is a horrible dictator. However, what one thing that he said was, if they overthrow him, then Europe and the United States are going to have a huge migrant crisis. And you see that around the world. There's a huge migrant crisis all through Europe, all through the United States. It's estimated that during the Biden administration, there's going to be 20 million new residents in the United States, and that's just the country that I'm in. It's like that around the world, and you have these populist movements coming up because of that reason. These anti-immigration populist movements, and they're succeeding politically in the Netherlands and in Argentina, and it's really divisive around the entire world, and things aren't going to get better. It's estimated that the world economy is going to be at a 30-year low in 2024. So when people are suffering, when people are hungry, that's when you have problems. And this migrant crisis is worldwide. It's a global economy, and with the divisiveness of populist movements and political unrest in each country. You have the farmers protesting. A lot of news that they're trying to keep under wraps with the mainstream media, but it's getting out there through social media like TikTok and X. And people are smart. People are a lot smarter than you give them credit for. People are like cats. Cats are not given enough credit for how smart they are, how cunning they are, as cunning as a cat. And humans are the same way. They don't give it enough credit for how smart and resourceful they can be. So that's my opinion on the 100 days of the Israeli Palestine war. As far as my own personal opinion, before this conflict started, I would always say I side with Israel. I've had so many Jewish friends and I have Jewish ancestry. However, when you look at a lot of the numbers and No side is right or wrong, and for the anti-war candidate, and there isn't really an anti-war candidate in the United States anymore. Both sides, the left and the right, are war-hungry warmongers with special interests. So I don't know who. I don't pick any side with Israel or Palestine or Israel and Hamas. And I just think that you should look at the children, and the children are unbiased. They don't have any political ideology, and they're just trying to survive. You look at the cats. Speaking of cats, I saw a video of some kitties that were scared in Palestine of the bombing, and the mama cat was sheltering the baby kittens. And then I saw another video of some kitties in Israel that were scared of rockets coming in there. And so you look at the overall uh, scope of the situation, and other civilizations on other planets. It's in my assumption that they do not have wars between each other. They don't, uh, deplete their natural resources, and including and to get membership into this intergalactic federation, and to have all the technology of all the other planets and all of their help. Um, most planets, most civilizations that get to that point, they learn to work together. It's like kindergarten. If everybody's fighting, and if you're going to build a castle with blocks, and all the kindergartners are fighting and throwing blocks at each other, and everybody wants to put the blocks on, it's not going to work. You're going to have to work together. You have some of the kids put the blocks at the bottom. Some of the kids will be responsible for the blocks at the top. Some of the kids will be responsible for organizing each of the blocks. And it's the same thing with the human species. If humans continue with wars and continue to fight each other and continue to deplete their natural resources, then nothing good is going to come from it, and the human race will not survive. If you look at civilizations on other planets with other star systems, the reason they've been able to evolve so long, millions of years longer than us, is because they were able to get along. They weren't blowing each other up. And I can almost guarantee that every uh, planet that is in the Galactic Federation is a one world government that does the best for that planet. They harvest the energy from that planet and from that planet's star to be a type 1 civilization. The human beings on Earth is not even a type 1 civilization. We're not even half of one. Maybe in 200 years, we'll be a type 1 civilization. That's if we can last that long. And segue there, recently the new UFOs or UABs is the jellyfish. And normally I don't look at all these. There was that Miami alien, which was total bullshit. Every video is all disturbed, like totally grainy. Like, why is every alien video all like horrible when they have, HD cameras in every phone, 4K cameras in every phone, 4K security cameras? There's no reason, unless the aliens have a way to make the video like somehow disturbed, but we would have knowledge of that as well. People would have mentioned that as well. So I don't normally, look or give much credence to these videos, but there is the video of the jellyfish, and there's a few different videos of these jellyfish things, and they're supposedly invisible, and they have like long tentacles, and it looks like a machine, like kind of like a jellyfish that just hovers. And some of these videos were released by the military, and they are legit. They're probably as legit as some of the videos that were released by the New York Times in 2015. With the U.S. Air Force tracking this blob, this disc that's just going so fast over the ocean. So it's up there. It's these jellyfish videos that are coming out, and personally, I side with Albert Einstein, where nothing can travel at the speed of light, and the closest star system, the closest star that could possibly even be habitable, would take is 5 light years away. Even traveling at the speed of light, it would take 5 years. Even traveling at a tenth of the speed of light, it would take 100 years. The Milky Way galaxy is one of trillions of galaxies. and there's billions of stars in the Milky Way galaxy. To get from one side of the Milky Way galaxy to the other side, just for light to travel, I think it's like 100,000 light years across, maybe 800,000 light years across. Regardless, when you're talking about those numbers, 100,000 light years across or 800,000 light years across, even if you were traveling at the speed of light, it would take you 100,000 years to get from one side to the other. That's not measurable for on the human scope. So all these UFOs, I don't think it's possible to travel. It's not possible to travel at the speed of light, and I don't think these entities are from uh, I don't think believe they're extraterrestrial. I don't think they're from other planets. I think they must be from this planet or from some other dimension. That's something that we don't understand. Humans are discovering in biology thousands, if not tens of thousands, new species of animals and plant every year. So it's not too far-fetched to think that there are other species of animals that are, I don't even want to call them animals. There's other species that are far more advanced than we are, that did not want to be discovered, or did not want to be found, but have been here on this planet longer than we have. And that would make sense how these UFOs are, or UABs are seen around nuclear plants and nuclear sites, because they don't want to destroy, they don't want us to destroy their home, their planet. And there are things that happen when a nuclear bomb goes off. It like splits the fabric of time in a way. And it's playing God. And you can see why, if there were advanced species, they wouldn't want us to be doing that. So that's my own personal opinion, and a lot of great thinkers also believe in the same way. So Iowa is going to be the first state to vote. Let's get back to politics. Iowa is happening in a few days. There's a blizzard in Iowa. It's negative 11 degrees in Iowa right now. I can't complain about 61 degrees in Hawaii, because it's negative 11 degrees in Iowa. If you're stuck outside in Iowa right now, I feel bad for you. I feel bad for all the kitty cats that are outside in negative 11 degrees weather. That's not conditional for human beings to live in. I read a story about a young college boy who, I believe it was in Iowa, somewhere in that area, a couple of years ago, and he was today's Sunday morning, and he was at a Saturday night party, and he drank some alcohol, and he was offered some rides, but he says no, no, he's just a few miles, he'll just walk. And so after the end of the party, he walks, but he realized he forgot his jacket halfway there, and he's like, oh, okay, I'll be okay. But he wasn't okay, and he kept walking, and walking faster and walking faster. Then the sweat got cold, and he thought, okay, well, I'll just sit down for a minute and catch my breath. And then he sat down there, and a young healthy man froze to death just because of the conditions outside. That's one reason why I moved to Hawaii. I'm not telling everybody on the mainland United States to come to Hawaii. It takes a special type of person to make it in Hawaii, especially if you're Caucasian, because it's not everybody here is not the most welcoming to people from the mainland, especially Caucasian, because of the history. So it really takes a special type of person to make it in Hawaii. But I was left with no objective, because I cannot handle cold weather. If I was in negative 11-degree weather, I don't know if I would survive. My body on this planet is meant to stay around the equator, within the longitudes and latitudes around the equator. And I could not survive anywhere else. I was born and raised in South Texas, in Austin, Texas. It freezes about 30 nights per year, 30 too many in my book. And it does get cold there as well. It's freezing cold in Austin right now. So I'm very grateful to live in Hawaii. I will always live in a warm climate like this one, probably in Hawaii. So with that being said, speaking of Hawaii and politics, RFK Jr. is actually coming to Honolulu this week. Here in Hawaii, we don't get a lot of music acts. We don't get a lot of big concerts. We don't get big comedians that come through here. We don't normally get politicians other than Barack Obama coming to Hawaii. So this Thursday, it was an interesting treat to find out RFK Jr. Is coming to Hawaii, trying to get his name on the ballot for the upcoming election. And there's also some rumors that Tulsi Gabbard might be his RFK Jr.'s running mate. And those are probably two of the only decent people in the Democratic Party, RFK Jr. and Tulsi Gabbard, to the only two Democrats that I can think that I actually like and that I would actually vote for. And RFK Jr., there's also been some rumors that he would be Donald Trump's running mate, which, as I said in my last podcast, I think would be a great idea to go on the other side of the aisle and, appease, appeal to voters over there. I watched the Trump town hall last night, like as I was cooking, and before I saw it, I heard people say, "Oh, he was more presidential than he's ever been," and it was interesting. And he was chilled. He's a lot older than he was 10 years ago, and he was answering questions calmly. He didn't, put anybody on the spot. I saw recently he was saying nice things about Nancy Pelosi, and Trump is a great troll. And I guess if Trump says he likes somebody, then they don't like Trump, for people that for this Trump derangement syndrome that has taken swept across the world. Uh, but I wasn't a fan of Donald Trump when he was president. Any president of the United States, I'm going to knock, I'm going to make fun of, I'm going to criticize. However, this current election, I've never voted for Donald Trump, but I would vote for him in this current election because it's bigger than Trump. It has more to do with the democracy of the United States, with freedom of speech, with being able to you know uh, politicize the justice system and incriminate your political rivals. Election interference by having 20 million new arrivals in the United States. Joe Biden is the most corrupt president in the United States. I would vote for anybody against Biden, but I'm looking forward to voting for Donald Trump in the Republican primary, because I don't like how they could do that to any one citizen, how they could push any one citizen out. This is the United States of America, and the things that are happening now, it seems like the things that would happen in a third world country, and that's what you get with corruption. And Hunter Biden and Joe Biden, they've been corrupt since before the election even started. There was election interference with the major Time magazine and the major media companies. Time magazine explains the election interference, how all the mainstream media companies and all the social media outlets, they hid stories that would have altered or changed the results of the election. And so you can't just say, "Oh, you're a conspiracy theorist." No, it was the 2020 election was the most controversial election in United States history. And you could say that if you're a bloody liberal or if you're on the far right. It was the most controversial election in recent years. And nothing's probably going to top that except this year. No telling what's going to happen this year. In 2020, we had COVID. In 2024, what's going to happen? No telling. Solar flare, nuclear strike. I don't know. We're the brink of war. You can't even keep up with all the news stories happening, the world news stories. That's why today's podcast, I didn't, prepare anything. I didn't have any set topics, but I'm like, oh, okay, we'll just talk about the news for a little bit. There's plenty going on there. And for the next 10 months until November, there's going to be some of the biggest news stories ever. Like Tucker Carlson said, one of 400 different scenarios could play out in the next 10 months. And pick one out of the hat. And that's the craziest thing. Normally, we know who the candidates are going to be. Right now, it's going to be Trump versus Biden. No, probably not. They're going to try to put Trump in jail for life, and Biden doesn't even know where he is. Who's running the country? Who's running the Republican Party? Who's running the Democratic Party? It seems like the Democrats are paying for Nikki Haley to be the top Republican candidate. That's odd. All these liberal donors are paying for a GOP candidate. What's up with that? Oh, well, if they are able to eliminate Trump and Nikki Haley is the Republican candidate, nobody's going to vote for Biden. So they'll get their man, Nikki Haley, Dick Cheney, in high heels. And people are smart, though, and people are calling it out. So I don't know. Maybe they will succeed. And maybe Nikki Haley will be the first female president. But there still will be the brave ones that speak out, like Donald Trump or like Vivek or like Mr.G. And the vast majority of Americans don't want to vote for Donald Trump or Joe Biden or Nikki Haley. And they'd rather candidates like RFK Jr. Be up against Vivek. Those are the two most popular candidates. And like Patrick Bet David said, the 2024 election is going to be the last election where legacy media has any say so whatsoever. In 2028, it's going to be all podcast and independent journalists like me, Mr. G Hawaii. Thank you for listening today. The Mr. G podcast, the Gregory Brandt Mr. G Hawaii podcast. It's available wherever you listen to podcasts. Apple Podcasts, just search Mr. G Hawaii. Amazon Podcasts, just search Gregory Brandt or Mr. G Hawaii. And full episodes are uploaded in their entirety on twitter.com/Gregory Brandt and youtube.com/Gregory Brandt. Thank you all and have a wonderful Sunday from here in Honolulu, Hawaii.